Hi, this is Maurizio from Cataclysm and also Xdale. You're watching Search and Destroy online. Keep it metal. You know, Cataclysm has a very special experience with Mexico. And the first time we come here, it was in 1995. It was a very difficult experience. We had done 14 shows in Mexico. We started in Juarez and we finished in Acapulco with Incantation a long time ago. And at that time, Mexico, I don't think, was ready to do 14 shows, you know, so it was a very crazy experience. So for a long time, we don't come back. And last year, we came back for the Prevail album. We had the time of our lives. It was amazing. The crowd was great. Things have changed into a very positive way, and we decided to come back as soon as possible. So today we're here, and I can see again that everything is perfect. And you know, Ice Cream Production has done a killer job with the show, and we're very happy with everything. So it's been fantastic. Well, I think it was in a city called Salamanca, and we played a show in an abandoned church. This is in '95, and a fan jumped from the stage, and this church was abandoned. It had no ceiling, you know. It was very epic looking, like very dark and crazy, and so this place was completely sold out, and this fan jumped and fell. The people like opened up, you know, like a hole, and the guy fell in the middle and hit his head. And I look at him when he fell down. He didn't look in good shape, you know. And I was playing bass at the time, and then his body came up into the crowd, and the crowd was moving his body, you know. But what was fucked up is when he fell down, the whole crowd went on top, like he was moshing on top of him, you know. And then his body was dangling off the crowd, and he had like white stuff coming out of his mouth. I think he was dead, you know. And then I turn around and I tell Sylvain, the singer at the time of Cataclysm, and that time we had a different singer. I told him, hey man, we have to stop the show. So he turns around and he's like, okay, well, let's stop the show because, I mean, this guy's fucked up. And then there was military there, police, and the guy put his gun like this. He says, you don't stop playing here. And I go, what the fuck, you know, like I went to the side and I said, why? The guy's fucked up. He says, because if you stop, there will be a huge riot. And it's going to be worse than this guy's life. And I was like, okay. So we kept playing. And I never heard anything about that person or what happened. But it was a very emotional and fucked up situation to see, you know, when you're powerless. So, and that in Mexico is 1 day out of 30 days that we've been through craziness, you know. But I'm doing the DVD of Cataclysm that's coming out. We have a lot of Mexico in it from '95, you know. But to be honest, this show tonight was great. We had some technical problems on stage tonight with the bass, but other than that, it was a fantastic show. You know, my bass player in the back says it was the pedal, not him. It's him. He sucks. No, I'm just kidding. Emotionally, one of the most real records we have done. There has a lot of anger in it because I think that the band has been through very difficult times. We're still not out of our difficult times. We're still struggling as a band with our in our normal lives, not in the music life. In the music, Cataclysm is stronger than ever at the moment, you know. But in our personal lives, we've had a lot of difficulty surpassing, you know, certain things. And when we were writing this record, we didn't want to release Heaven's Venom that quick. We wanted to wait an extra year, but we were ready. We had the songs, and the guys were like, man, we got to put this on, you know, we got to record this now. So I believe it's one of Cataclysm's strongest record. Not because it's the latest. I know how it is. All the bands, the last album's the best, you know. I remember when I did Prevail, I knew it wasn't the best record we have done. Even if some people think it's their favorite, to me, it was an okay album, you know. But this record, I really feel it's one of the strongest. With In the Arms of Devastation, it's one of the top Cataclysm records. I really believe it, you know. What happened is after In the Arms of Devastation, that album exploded Cataclysm's career. It was a very big album. It's at the moment the strongest selling Cataclysm album. And what happened is that after that we were a little bit influenced by people, and we changed producer, we did the whole thing where we got a little bit of bad influence, I think, and we had people that came into our lives that were working with the bigger bands and really influenced us in a way that I don't think Cataclysm was ready. We should have waited. We should have stick to the producers we had. We came back to that idea with this new record, and the difference is already big. This album is really doing really well for us, and it's up there, you know. But you know, every record we do is special for us. So we don't do an album if we don't think we have some good material. But if you compare it to other albums, maybe sometimes you can see a little bit of a difference, you know. So that's the opinion I have on it. That's mine. You know, my guitar player likes Prevail. My other guys like it. Some people, you know, everybody has their opinion. A very real release, something that, first of all, we're doing this really for us first. Me, Max, Steph, JF, we all want to have something one day that we can take to our grave and say, like, this is our entire life, you know? Because whatever happens after these 20 years, it's just gravy on top, you know? It's like a cherry on top of the sundae, you know? We've done it. And we have accomplished it 20 years and still stronger than ever. For us, is something that most bands don't get to do, you know? So for me, we did it for us, and what's in this DVD is this entire history of the band. Everybody will be interviewed their own way. They will tell their own story about how things happen. There's a lot of footage. We have a lot of footage from 1993, 92, all the way to now, and doing the tour at Ozfest and being the only death metal band on Ozfest, you know, ever almost, you know, like, I mean, there was death metal bands, but on this one we were the only one, you know, so it was weird and just a lot of different situations, and this band survived a lot of fucked up shit, and to us to still be here today is a miracle almost, you know. So to commemorate this time, we want to do something special for our fans, for us, you know. We'll have that and the festival that we're headlining in Germany called the Summer Breeze Festival. It's 30,000 people, I heard, 35,000, and we're headlining this festival, and the whole show will be filmed and put on the DVD as well. So we're gonna do a double DVD, you know, live, and we managed to get Sylvain on the thing. It is absolute crazy interview. It lasts only 20 minutes, but you will see the reason why he's not in the band anymore, like why things happen. He's really not in a very healthy situation, you know. And to us it was impossible almost to do this interview. We managed to do it. It's going to be in there. When people see it, they will be shocked. It's pretty heavy. So I don't think you realize where he's at. He's asked questions. He answers things that are just like don't make sense, you know. But then again, you know, the albums that he was on, a lot of them didn't make a lot of sense either. If you really, they make sense, but he was so, you know. Look, the bottom line with him, with us, if it wasn't for him, Cataclysm wouldn't exist, you know. He was a driving force in the beginning of the career, but then he got really sick, and he has schizophrenia, and that really destroyed everything, you know, and there was no way to work with him. It is impossible. So he's not better now after all these years. You will see in the DVD, you know. 20 minutes, and it ends very, very fucked up, the interview. So it will touch him, band members from Voivod, everywhere, the Canadian scene a lot, you know, Cryptopsy in there, like everybody, like all the people we have worked with all our lives, you know. Some other things I can't talk about that are really cool that will be in it, and I think that people will have a real picture of Cataclysm, what we are, you know, inside and outside the whole thing, you know. Oh, really? AOL? Oh, really? Oh, wow, that's awesome. When was this? It just came out. I didn't even know. It just like not too long ago it came out. Oh, wow. Well, I mean, in Canada, Cataclysm is I would say almost the same size as in Europe. You know, like we are pretty strong in Canada. In the US, we're a little bit less strong, But this is the thing, we can play in the US to a same crowd that we played tonight, maybe a little bit less, but they are fanatics, and every time we play, they're there. The difference between Cataclysm and other bands is that other bands will do 2,000 people and then play to 100 in 2 years difference, Cataclysm will always draw an amount of people, a good amount, but always. And what's funny in our career is that the scene is going like this, and then it's going like this, and it's going like this. Because Cataclysm is going always straight, not super big, not super small, but always like this. And I really look at my heroes are not Metallica and Slayer and all these bands. It's not my heroes, There are bands that got really big and they made it good, great music. Slayer, great. Nobody says anything bad about them, of course. But I look at a Motorhead more like as a hero. My drummer really made me get into Motorhead a lot more, because I didn't know what it was, but now I know what it is. And Motorhead is a him, yeah. and yeah, the alcoholic. The thing is, me too. The thing is with Motorhead is that it's a working band. It doesn't matter if they draw 800 people in Germany, 800 people in Mexico, or 1,000 in the States, or 1,000 here. Everywhere they go, 10 years from now, they're doing it. Same thing. They're a working band, They are always solid on their feet. I respect a band like Motorhead more than I'm going to respect a band like Metallica or Slayer. Because they got the ticket. Like, they had good music at the right time. They got real big. They got huge. But a band like Motorhead is still working. You know what I mean? These bands can be in the top 10, and then 20 years from now they're not even on the Billboard or whatever, and that it affects them. And Motorhead doesn't even have to touch it, and it's still Motorhead. See, I look at that as an influence. To me, they're working bands. They live from it. They're comfortable. See, that's where Pantera was almost like that as well. It was never Metallica, but it was always a little bit more popular, obviously. But you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, we look at Motorhead as an influence more in the way of how they work, ethics, all that, They do what they do, and that's it, Well, they were always very loud. I think he's deaf right now, Lemmy, but and then you go like to the Rainbow in LA or something, hanging out for whatever reason. All the bands go there when they play there. And then he's there hanging out like he doesn't give a fuck. He's just there playing his poker machine, and you got to respect that, To me, it's, when we did Ozfest this summer, we were looking at everybody, and Rob Halford comes to our table, sits down, and he's like, "Hey, can I sit with you guys and have dinner?" To us, that was like, "What the fuck?" Okay, yeah, it's like, but that's humble, Like, that's one thing I learned in this thing, is to stay like that. The moment you change and you get stupid, you don't last. You don't last. So, for us, it's like we got offers to go to China. We got offers right now to go to Indonesia, all these places where it's not developed. But to go there and experience the hardship, to us, keeps us in line. It keeps our feet on the ground. We go to Europe, we do 2,000 people a night. 1,500, 1,000 everywhere in Germany, Austria, Switzerland. To us, it's like we go there, it's like, But it's good to go to a place maybe like China, do 300, 400 people, or the PA that's not really working well, and go back to the roots and keep what we are alive, because that's what it is. We built it from the ground. To me, this is everything. So I'm never gonna change on that. 20 years later, I'm not changing. To me, it's not death metal, but that's me. Their fans like Cataclysm. We are more of a modernized death metal from the 90s, I think. We are part of the second wave. The first wave was Obituary. You had Death. You had, Deicide. You had like Cannibal Corpse. Like, that was the first wave. Then the second wave came, and that wave, Hypocrisy, Cataclysm, Cryptopsy, Nile, it's all on the second wave. We're part of that second wave. There's not a third wave. Because if this is the third wave, it's over. Because it's completely different. To me, it's another style. They use a lot of influence from it. What I don't like is the core element. That's what I don't like. The image is not a representative of. If you look at a band like Cannibal Corpse and you look like a band like Nile, the image is the same. You know, I don't care if you have short hair. I had short hair when in '96 with Temple of Knowledge. I mean, I had short hair, but I shaved my head, man. I didn't have the fucking crazy, you know, haircut. You know, look, everybody does what they do. I respect the bands. I've toured with a lot of these bands. Lately, we did a tour with a band called Al-Shah Parish in the States. At the beginning, we were like, I don't know about this fucking band. You know, it's not really death metal. You know. We actually brought another band called Abysmal Dawn to make sure we have another band that's like, you know, death metal. They're cool. They're like part of the new generation. They're doing it like with old influences and all that. But we became super good friends with Al-Shah Parish. We were on the same bus. We realized that they are the same guys that we are, just doing something a bit different. So we learned to respect these bands a lot. Summer Slaughter, we were on that tour. Believe me, a band like Cataclysm on a tour like Summer Slaughter was like whoa, you know, very different for us. We were direct support to Black Dahlia Murder was headlining. Cataclysm, Faceless was in there. All these bands, Whitechapel, you know. But Vader was in there too, and Cryptopsy, you know. So to us, it was like, we do what we do. I think it's metal all around. I think they should just say they play extreme metal. They play extreme metal, I think that fits. But death metal is a different word. To me, it comes from a different place, you know. If they say extreme metal, cool. When they say, oh, we're death metal, I'm like, they even know it, they're not, you know. it's you know, to be death metal today is a different place, you know. It's not as strong as it used to be. Very few bands are surviving, and it's, to us, we're one of the bands, you know, that is out there working hard, keeping it alive. I think us bands like Behemoth, you know, and Nurgle is a good friend, and you know, we've had many conversations about the whole industry, and they're part of the second wave as well, and we talk about it. So those are the days I come from, you know. So it's like I see Suffocation playing with Whitechapel, and then that shit happens.
Do you like the type of bands like
I don't like Jean-François Cowboy. I like Whitechapel a little bit better. It's a little bit more brutal. I don't know. It's a little bit better. I like him better, you know. But there's this finesse of writing that's missing. I'm not a technical guy. Like these guys, I know them. They play tonight. They're cool, but I'm not a fan like it. I don't like the whole. I don't like a band when you need a calculator. What's happening here next riff? I like emotion, you know. I'm more into melody and some technical, but groove, you know, like Morbid Angel I like, you know, Cannibal Corpse I like. It's not too much technical, it's done the right way, you know.
It's old school,
yeah. Yeah, Obituary, I mean Obituary, man, it's AC/DC of death metal, you know. So I like that stuff. To me, there was no boundaries with death metal when it started. It was just, you go, you're playing brutal music. I want to have beer for my show, some per diems. If I make money, cool. If I don't, I don't. That was how this started, you know. Now everybody wants to be Slayer, you know. But you can't be Slayer in death metal. It's an impossibility, you know. And people don't get it still. They still want to be like, that's what I was telling you. I don't respect the new bands that are coming that with one album want to play after you, and we're much bigger than you, and this and shit. Come on. I have 20 years, 10 albums. I'm still here. I'm still worth something. I have some respect, you know. That is gone. That whole world is gone. So whatever's left, we're trying to keep it alive. Like I told you, bands like us, maybe Behemoth, maybe Vader, some bands are still trying to, you know, be innovative, you know, and keeping it alive. But slowly, it's like this new generation is just taking everything, you know. In 10 years, we'll see if they're still here. Then they have merit, you know. They have to do the first 10 years. The first 10 years is important. The new Ex Deo is going to be a very symphonic album. It's going to be a mixture between battery and bolt thrower, and it's going to be with a lot of melody. you have to imagine all those bands with the soundtrack to like Gladiator. You know, it's gonna be very like imagine Hans Zimmer meets death metal. You know, but done like in a very barbaric way. You know, it's gonna be very epic record. This band for me is so important. It's something that I have to break, but not break in a way of like becoming this huge thing. I want it to be something that will rival a band like Amon Amarth. It's important to me, you know, because I like the band. They're great, really cool guys. They do what they do really well. Love the band, but they're also part of the second wave, you know. They're probably one of the strongest bands at the moment. But they're writing a mythology, you know. They're selling a mythology. I'm selling reality. That's the difference. Thor, he didn't exist. Julius Caesar existed. So I'm coming with something real. And I think I have something that's cannot be taken from anybody. And this new album, we're coming with a complete lineup. We're gonna come with something that nobody's ever seen. I am really determined with this album. I signed a record deal with a different label. I'm not going to release it on Nuclear Blast. And they didn't get the vision I have, so I wanted to switch. I switched. These guys are gonna push it the way I want, and I will make some enemies maybe, but it's worth it, you know. And what I'm gonna do is gonna be something that I think also the Latin world should appreciate, because it's their culture. It's their history. When I went to Spain with this for the first time with Behemoth, we toured together. Norgal was on the album as well. The people were like, I had fans taking off their Amon Amarth shirt, putting an XDO shirt. To me, that was a victory, you know. But again, we respect the band. We respect all the Viking bands. We respect all the mythology stuff, because Rome also is also built in some mythology, you know. But I have something to prove with this, and it's a lot of history and a lot of time. It's 1,000 years of history, and I have to do it right, you know, to give honor to what it is, you know. So everybody lives in freedom, and a lot of it was brought by the Romans. Their way of thinking also brought a lot of bad stuff, but it brought a lot of good stuff. So I want to show the world of what it is, because I think that a lot of the new generation, especially I think in places where they have a lot of money, they don't get the education they should get in school and understanding where everything comes from. I think it's important to know where everything comes from. And I'm gonna be that band that's gonna make it cool to learn your history, you know, with death metal, you know. It's death metal, epic death metal. So I'm very, 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 after we finish the world tour for Cataclysm will go on a long break. And then we're gonna concentrate on this XDO album. It's called Caligula. And if you know who he is, then you know that it's gonna be a very, very controversial album. So I'm going to touch a little bit of Caligula, a little bit of Spartacus on the album. There's some slave stuff, but the Spartacus Rebellion. I'm going to hit also some different places like the Arab Revolution and stuff, and it's going to be pretty crazy. So I'm going to touch a little bit of history. I'm going slowly. First album, Romulus, was to introduce Rome. I introduced Romulus, the founder of Rome, Julius Caesar, the people, things that people know. This one, I'm going more deep into it, you know. So it's gonna turn heads. You know, next time we talk, the album will be out, and you will see what it does. I'm very, very determined for it. It's coming out. The idea is to release it in the spring of 2012. 12. I forget what year we are. I'm doing so many things. 2012, spring 2012. We should release it, and it's gonna be on Napalm Records. We went with a more underground label. In these days and age, you know, you have to go really deep, but I don't want to get into it. But in this day and age, a major label don't make the difference. Right now, it's all about going with the right label that believes in something, you know.
search and destroy.